Alright, let's go ahead and set up a new scene. In case you've been following along, we kind of have done quite a bit to the previous one, so we'll go ahead and just start fresh here. Alright, we're going to place two blocks in the scene, and we're going to place the weapon in the scene and a player. So what we're going to do in this one, I'm just going to slide down to our next area, which is going to be the weapon, the bullet or projectile ID. So the ID, think of it as each bullet that comes out has an ID value. The ID can follow it when it hits another object. It can actually, if these are enabled, can check and say, are you the same ID or are you something different? What it can do though is say that it can only hit something that has an ID of a certain value. So for instance, you can use up to the 4 type. You can say self, team, race, and faction. I could do it, keep it easy here. We can just say it's going to check for the other object in the scene that has a self ID of, we'll say 2. So primary bullet shooting out is going to look for any other ID that has 2. So we're going to go to, so this is all we have to do for the ID part. Now I'm going to go to the top block here, and we'll go down to this object's ID values. We're going to say this one is an ID of 2, and then we're also going to say that we're going to use ID for hit point. So we're basically saying that this object, if a bullet hits or a projectile hits, then you can actually check it. Alright, now we'll go with this one, and then the one right below here though, just to show on 2 parts, and then we'll change it up so you can see a different way of doing it too. This one we're going to set for use ID, but we're going to use the ID, we're going to call this one 1. Alright, now what this means is that when we go to shoot, the top one will take damage. The bottom one, because the bullet is currently set to hit anything with a collider, will hit but won't apply any damage. Now the top one though, when I shoot, will apply damage because the ID values of the bullet and the object are the same. Alright, now if we take it one step further, and this is something we haven't looked at directly if you've been following along, is the weapon on the bullet. Once we get to that part, we're going to kind of skip a little bit on these on the properties here. If you go down on to the primary icon, the one that looks like a disable option right here, this is going to be what it can and can't do. Let's see if it's on this one. Nope, it's the one right next to it. It's the hit primary. What the object hits, you can say can hit any active collider. Well, this one has an active collider, that's why it hit it. It didn't apply any damage because the ID values are different. But what you can do is you can actually say can hit any active collider off, and that means that the bullet, which would be a very standard setup for the weapon, is the bullet is only looking for objects with hit point values. Well, both of these objects, if we were to go to its hit points, both objects have hit points enabled. They have their hit point box set up. The difference now is that these two, one has the ID value correct and one has it different. So when you go to actually shoot this one, now it's actually just going to go through it, because it comes to it and it says, well, you have a hit point but you're not the right one, so don't stop, because we're not going to stop on colliders. And that also means the stuff below you doesn't get hit either. So if you're setting up a scene where you're just wanting the bullet to interact only with the hit object with the ID, then this is the only one that's going to hit. Now I still have collision, I can't go through any of these objects, but my bullet, when it's checking for stuff, is only going to check for the one it can hit up there. Alright, so that's going to be the basic setup so that you can actually create a collision across these, have it where it still goes through them, and then also check against an ID value directly.